Ryanair is one of the most famous, and sometimes controversial airlines in Europe. Known as the low-cost giant, Ryanair completely changed the way people travel across Europe. But how did it all start? Why are their tickets so cheap? And what makes this airline so unique? Let's take a closer look at the story of Ryanair. The origins. Ryanair was founded in 1984 in Ireland. At the beginning, it was just a very small airline with only one 15-seat turboprop aircraft. Its first route was between Waterford in Ireland and London Gatwick. At that time, nobody could imagine that this small airline would become one of the largest in the world. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Ryanair started to copy the business model of American low-cost carriers like Southwest Airlines. That meant cutting down costs, simplifying operations, and offering the lowest possible fares to passengers. The low-cost revolution. Ryanair is often credited with starting the low-cost revolution in Europe. Before Ryanair and other budget airlines, flying was very expensive, and only business people or wealthy travelers could afford it. Ryanair made it possible for students, families, and basically anyone to fly from one country to another for the price of a bus ticket. Suddenly, people could go on weekend trips to Rome, Barcelona, or Paris for just a few euros. This completely changed tourism and travel culture in Europe. The fleet. Today, Ryanair operates one of the largest fleets of Boeing 737 aircraft in the world. Currently, they have more than 570 planes, most of them the Boeing 737-800 model, painted in the well-known blue and yellow livery. They have also started to receive the newer Boeing 737 MAX 8, which Ryanair calls the game changer. This aircraft has more seats, lower fuel consumption, and reduced emissions, which helps the airline save money and fly more efficiently. The average age of their fleet is relatively low, which means their planes are modern and reliable. Destinations and airports. Ryanair flies to more than 230 destinations across 37 countries, covering almost every corner of Europe, plus parts of North Africa and the Middle East. One interesting fact is that Ryanair often doesn't use the main international airports. Instead, they fly to smaller or secondary airports that are located outside major cities. For example, instead of Paris-Charles de Gaulle, they often fly to Paris-Beauvais. Instead of Frankfurt-Main, they fly to Frankfurt-Hahn. This helps them reduce airport fees and keep ticket prices low. But for passengers, it sometimes means a longer bus or train journey to reach the actual city. How Ryanair keeps prices low. One of the main reasons people talk about Ryanair is their extremely cheap tickets. Sometimes you can fly for less than 10 euros. But how is this possible? Ryanair uses several strategies. Single aircraft type. They only fly Boeing 737s, which reduces training and maintenance costs. Fast turnarounds. Their planes spend very little time on the ground, often less than 30 minutes between flights. Extra fees. The ticket price is low, but you have to pay extra for checked luggage, priority boarding, seat selection, or even printing your boarding pass at the airport. Secondary airports. As mentioned, they use cheaper airports to save money. High passenger numbers. Ryanair fills its planes. With over 90% average load factor, they rarely fly empty seats. Passenger experience. Flying with Ryanair is simple and direct. There is no business class, no free meals, and very few extras. The seats do not recline, and the legroom is limited. However, many passengers don't mind, because the flights are short, usually 2 to 3 hours. For such a low price, people accept the basic service. On board, Ryanair also sells food, drinks, duty-free products, and even lottery scratch cards. Every small sale helps the airline earn more profit. Criticism and controversy. Of course, Ryanair is not loved by everyone. The airline has been criticized for its strict baggage rules, poor customer service, and endless fees. Their CEO, Michael O'Leary, is famous for his controversial statements and unusual ideas. At one point, he suggested charging passengers to use the onboard toilet, although that never actually happened. Despite these criticisms, people continue to book Ryanair flights, because the prices are simply unbeatable. Impact on travel and tourism. It is hard to overstate how much Ryanair has changed Europe. Thanks to cheap flights, small cities and regional airports suddenly became connected to the rest of the continent. Tourism in many places exploded, as people could visit destinations they would never have considered before. For example, small towns in Spain, Italy, or Eastern Europe saw huge increases in visitors, all thanks to Ryanair routes. Ryanair also forced traditional airlines like Lufthansa, British Airways, or Air France to launch their own low-cost subsidiaries, such as Eurowings or Transavia, in order to compete. Numbers and records. Ryanair carries over 180 million passengers per year, making it the largest airline in Europe by passenger numbers. The airline operates more than 3,000 daily flights. Their average ticket price is often under €40. They employ more than 20,000 staff across Europe. Future plans. Ryanair is continuing to grow. They have ordered hundreds of new Boeing 737 MAX aircraft to expand their fleet. They are also focusing on becoming more environmentally efficient by reducing emissions per passenger. Even though competition is increasing, Ryanair's business model is still very strong. As long as people want to fly cheaply, Ryanair will have passengers. Conclusion. Love them or hate them, Ryanair has changed the way Europe travels. They made flying affordable for millions of people, connected hundreds of cities, and built an airline empire based on low costs and high efficiency. For some passengers, it's a no-frills and sometimes frustrating experience. For others, it's the best way to explore Europe on a budget. But one thing is certain, Ryanair is here to stay, and its story is one of the most remarkable in modern aviation.